Most people assume optimism is a virtue, that despair is a flaw, that doubt is something to overcome. But what if despair is not weakness? What if it is clarity without anesthesia? There is a strange relief that comes from seeing things exactly as they are. Not improved, not justified, not explained away, just bare. The moment you stop asking life to make sense, something loosens. You no longer need to be convinced. You no longer need hope as a crutch. You are free from the exhausting task of believing. Belief is labor. Doubt rests. We are taught to chase meaning as if it were oxygen, as if without it we would suffocate. But meaning is not air. It is architecture, and most of it is poorly built. People don't suffer because life is tragic. They suffer because they expect it not to be. Expectation is the original violence. We wake each morning with a silent demand placed upon existence, that it justify itself, that it reward us, that it explain why we are here at all. And when it doesn't, we call this disappointment. But disappointment is simply reality refusing to perform. There is something obscene about hope when it becomes mandatory, when it is enforced like a moral obligation. Smile, believe, endure. Optimism becomes a kind of tyranny, not because it is wrong, but because it refuses to allow lucidity. Lucidity is dangerous. It removes the comfort of illusion. It replaces purpose with awareness. And awareness has no interest in consoling you. Once you truly see the world, ambition starts to feel theatrical. Success feels like an over-rehearsed role. Failure like an honest one. We spend our lives climbing structures we did not design, seeking approval from systems that do not care, calling this progress. The tragedy is not that life is meaningless. The tragedy is that we keep pretending it isn't. There is great freedom in admitting you do not matter. Not in the nihilistic sense, but in the cosmic one. The universe does not watch. It does not judge. It does not take notes. This is not cruelty. This is mercy. When nothing ultimately depends on you, you are released from the obligation to become something impressive. You can exist without explanation. Most people fear emptiness because they confuse it with despair. But emptiness is spacious. It does not demand performance. Only a crowded mind suffers constantly. We mistake busyness for importance, noise for meaning, movement for progress. Stillness feels threatening because it reveals the absence we've been avoiding. The mind invents futures to avoid sitting with the present. It romanticizes suffering to give pain a costume. It turns endurance into virtue so it doesn't have to ask why it's enduring at all. There is something deeply honest about exhaustion. It strips away ambition. It removes the appetite for illusion. It leaves only what is necessary. When you are tired enough, you stop lying to yourself. Perhaps wisdom is not enlightenment, but resignation without bitterness. Acceptance without narrative. Seeing clearly and refusing to decorate it. To live without illusions is not to live without feeling. It is to feel without lying about what you feel. There is a calm that comes from no longer needing answers, from no longer demanding coherence from chaos. You begin to observe rather than insist. And observation is lighter than belief. The world continues whether you approve or not. This realization can crush you, or it can set you free. The difference lies in whether you are still asking the world for permission to exist. We are rarely disturbed by reality itself. We are disturbed by the distance between reality and the story we told ourselves about it. The greater the distance, the sharper the pain. This is why those who expect little are harder to disappoint. They have already loosened their grip on how things should be. Most of our suffering is decorative. We add meaning to pain so it feels justified. We narrate it, romanticize it, turn it into proof that something important is happening. But pain does not need a storyline. It exists perfectly well on its own. The mind resists this. It wants reasons. It wants villains. It wants redemption arcs. Silence terrifies it because silence refuses to explain itself. Silence offers no consolation, but it also offers no deception. We mistake clarity for cruelty. When someone speaks plainly about existence, we accuse them of pessimism. But pessimism is still a form of belief. True clarity does not lean negative or positive. It simply refuses to lie. The demand to be hopeful is often more exhausting than despair itself. Hope requires maintenance. It must be fed, defended, protected from contradiction. Despair, when honest, requires nothing. It is complete the moment it arrives. There is a strange dignity in no longer expecting rescue. When you stop waiting for life to improve itself on your behalf, you begin to inhabit it differently. You no longer negotiate with reality. You observe it. Most people are trapped not by circumstances, but by anticipation. They live in futures that never arrive, postponing themselves indefinitely. They confuse preparation with living. They call this patience. But patience, when examined closely, often hides fear. Fear of beginning without guarantees. Fear of standing without explanations. Fear of existing without applause. There is no final version of yourself waiting to be achieved. This idea alone dissolves countless anxieties. Improvement is endless, but completion is a myth. Once you see this, urgency softens. You stop racing toward an imaginary finish line. The modern obsession with fulfillment is a subtle cruelty. It implies that something is wrong with you if you are not constantly becoming more. It turns existence into a project instead of a condition. You do not need to be optimized. You need to be honest. Honesty does not mean confession. It means refusing to pretend you understand more than you do. It means allowing uncertainty to remain unresolved. It means admitting that much of life is endured, not solved. There is a freedom in abandoning the need to be impressive. When you no longer aim to justify your presence, presence becomes enough. You sit, you breathe, you observe. And for once, nothing is required of you. Perhaps the most radical act is to live without asking life to validate itself. To wake up without expectation. To move through the day without demanding significance from every moment. Not everything must matter. Not everything must lead somewhere. Some moments exist simply to be survived, others to be forgotten, and a rare few to be noticed quietly, without comment. In the end, lucidity does not promise happiness. It promises lightness, a release from unnecessary struggle, a loosening of the grip. And sometimes that is more than enough. There is a subtle relief in realizing that many questions were never meant to be answered. We exhaust ourselves trying to resolve what was designed to remain open. The demand for closure is often just another form of impatience with reality. When answers fail to arrive, we assume we have failed. But perhaps the failure lies in the question itself. Some inquiries are traps. They promise clarity and deliver only more hunger. The mind is most honest when it admits confusion without anxiety. This is rare. Most confusion is accompanied by urgency, by the need to resolve it quickly so life can resume its performance. But life does not pause for understanding. It continues regardless. There is something quietly radical about allowing contradictions to coexist, to feel attachment without illusion, to care without expectation, to exist without the need to explain why. Much of what we call growth is simply learning what not to ask for anymore. Not because we have become wiser, but because we have become tired of disappointment. Fatigue in this way can be a teacher. When desire loses its intensity, perception sharpens. You stop projecting futures onto the present. You see what is actually there, not what you hoped would be. This is not resignation. It is accuracy. Accuracy has no ambition. It does not promise improvement. It simply refuses distortion. And in that refusal, something settles. The need to hurry fades. The pressure to arrive disappears. You are left with a quieter relationship to time, where moments no longer feel like obstacles to overcome. Nothing is solved, but nothing is demanded either. And for those who have spent their lives under the weight of expectation, that absence can feel like grace.